Being discarded by an avoidant is an extremely painful experience. It is a gut-wrenching experience, and it feels like the life was just sucked out of you. You didn't see it coming. It absolutely blindsided you. There are some differences and similarities between being discarded by a dismissive avoidant and being discarded by a fearful avoidant. They're both very likely to be abrupt and lack empathy, because the avoidant, when they have decided to discard you, they have completely deactivated. This means that they've taken their feelings for you, they've buried them deep, they've suppressed their feelings. They're not allowing themselves to access their feelings for you anymore. This is why they can be very cold, behave like they're an entirely different person, and lack empathy. And when you push for more clarity, they are very likely to back off even further or even ghost you altogether. A dismissive avoidant is most likely to give you the vague excuses along the lines of, I can't give you what you need. You deserve to be loved the way you deserve to be loved. Or that you're too clingy, or they just don't have time for a relationship right now, and they're just not ready for a relationship. The fearful avoidant is more likely to cite a very specific reason as to why they're discarding you that is most likely going to be blamed on you. Something about their wants and needs that wasn't being addressed, but it wasn't being addressed because they never communicated it to you. They built up resentment for their needs not being met, but never told you about the need that wasn't being met. And then when they discard you, it is blindsiding because you were never communicated about this issue. And when you push for more clarity, they're going to give you vague answers, again, very similar to a dismissive avoidant, that they're just not able to give you what you need, and they just need time and space to heal, etc., etc. But the initial excuse is much more likely to be blamed on you by a fearful avoidant. Now keep in mind, when an avoidant discards you and they blame it on you, they are gaslighting you, because you can't make anybody discard you. You can't make anybody do that. That behavior is the choice of the avoidant. It is on them. It is always the responsibility of the person doing the discarding, not the person being discarded. And a lot of the excuses that are given are truly gaslighting excuses, making you doubt your perception of reality so they can avoid accountability. Oh, the relationship was never really that serious. Or you were just too clingy that they had no choice but to back off. Or that you agreed to the break. Or you knew that the relationship just wasn't going anywhere and you agreed upon that, even though you never discussed or agreed upon that. Gaslighting is done to avoid accountability. That's purely why it's done, and it's often done during the discard. Being discarded is absolutely blindsiding. The consistent problem, whether it's a dismissive or a fearful avoidant, is that this person does not communicate their wants and needs and feelings. If you're doing something that bothers them, they're unlikely to tell you. That's because they've learned to associate communication with rejection. Rejection leads to abandonment, the core fear of both a dismissive and a fearful avoidant. They're very unlikely to assert their wants and needs for the same exact reason. The lack of communication ultimately leads to a discard, because any issues, whether it's issues that are fears of the avoidant or wants and needs not being met, they're just not going to be communicated with you, and you're never going to get the opportunity to address these things because of the lack of communication. If you've been discarded, it is crucial that you don't blame yourself, because if you are blaming yourself, you are taking responsibility for somebody else's attachment wounds. You're taking responsibility for somebody else's behavior, and you are only responsible for your own behavior, even if you were not a perfect partner. That doesn't mean that discarding you is not the choice and the responsibility of the avoidant that discarded you. Discards are very unlike a normal breakup. A normal breakup involves communication. One or both parties have expressed dissatisfaction with the relationship. The breakup is not a surprise. Even if one person still wants to keep the relationship going, it's not a shocker that it ends. And there's usually communication involved and empathy that is also shown during the breakup to some degree. In a discard, it is blindsiding. There was no warning signs because this person didn't communicate with you. Possibly even days before, they were telling you how wonderful you are and how no one made them feel the way that you do and how much they love you. And then all of a sudden, it is over. It is unilateral. It is completely depriving you of any say or voice in the breakup. And the most painful part of all is that you're not given any answers and you are not being shown any empathy. And it really is like a gaping wound and they're just throwing salt in it because they're not even giving you the courtesy of showing that they care. But understand that's because this person has completely detached from their emotions. They've taken their feelings for you and they've buried them deep and they don't allow themselves to access those feelings. But keep in mind, blaming yourself only hurts you further. It pushes you deeper into insecurity. Focus on understanding why this person behaves the way they do, that they have unhealed attachment wounds, and that is not your responsibility. You didn't cause that. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Beating yourself up is going to further the pain. Take steps to reduce the duration of the pain rather than prolong it. It's gonna hurt. It is absolutely gonna hurt. But you have a choice. If you self-deprecate, blame yourself, and beat yourself up, you are going down the path of prolonging your pain. If you are kind to yourself and recognize you didn't know what you didn't know and that this is a responsibility of the person that discarded you, it's a reflection of them, their character, and their attachment wounds. Go down that path and you shorten the duration of your pain. It'll hurt regardless, but it's very crucial. Don't blame yourself.